Yo, what is going on, Headliner Nation? It's your boy, The Doc, and we are back for the Week 2 injury update show. And I got all the feedback from last week's show. I appreciate everyone who left me a comment. A lot of people liking the shorter format for the injury video, but a lot of people were kind of wondering where the full breakdown of the entire slate was. So I've taken all of that into account for this video. We're going to do the entire slate, but I'm going to make it hopefully a little bit faster for those guys that appreciated a little bit shorter video with the injury updates. So we're going to stick to the big names. I've got a lot of guys up on the screen as well. Make sure you're paying attention watching the video. If there's somebody I didn't mention out loud, they might be up on the graphics. So just make sure that you're paying attention to that. But let's get into it. Week 2 injury update show. Let's go. First up, we're going to briefly talk about Thursday Night Football. I'm actually recording this video prior to Thursday night, so don't know exactly what's going to happen, but Josh Allen has been dealing with a left hand contusion. He had his hand wrapped during the team's Week 1 game, but isn't expected to hinder him much at all going forward. It's just a mild contusion, maybe a break. There's some rumblings that maybe his hand is broken, but it doesn't matter because it's off hand, and I do expect him to be able to play through this. And then we got the Dolphins with multiple running back injuries. Devon Achane dealing with an ankle sprain. Now, again, recording this prior to the game, I expected that he played in last night's game, but if I'm wrong, just know that this did not look like a very serious injury. He's likely only missing one game if he didn't play last night. But if he did play, he probably went off because Raheem Mostert is dealing with a chest injury, went down hard on his left shoulder. I think this is probably more of an SC joint injury, something we saw with Marquise Brown in the preseason, but landing hard on the chest, and basically the clavicle dislocates at the SC joint, so the sternoclavicular joint, for those of you that want to know the abbreviations. But he was ruled out well before this game, so hopefully you didn't have him in your lineups. Now, moving on to the Sunday slate, we got Raiders at the Ravens. Not a lot of guys I'm going to talk about here. Ravens have a couple linebackers that are banged up, but I figure it's just easier to head over to Chargers at the Panthers. Chargers wide receiver Josh Palmer dealing with a knee injury. He is expected to play in this game, but it's worth noting because he did miss 7 games last season with issues in the same knee and missed a portion of training camp with injuries to this knee. So he's playing through it, but probably the reason behind his very poor Week 1 performance. He's not really someone I trust putting into my lineup. As for the Panthers, arguably their best player went down in Week 1, defensive lineman Derek Brown. He has a meniscus tear that required a full repair surgery, so he is done for the year. Tough break for the Panthers. They look like they are heading for another pretty bad season. Moving on to the Saints at the Cowboys. The Cowboys really have the big name in this matchup, and that's tight end Jake Ferguson. He's dealing with a bone bruise and MCL sprain. He's not ruled out yet, but pretty safe to say that he's going to miss a week or two with this. He kind of landed awkwardly trying to avoid a tackle, tweaked his knee. On the video, I really didn't feel like this was a major issue, but it is something that I expect him to miss a few games with. We'll see if he can come back in Week 3, but as of right now, I'm not expecting him to play in Week 2. All right, next up, looking at the Bucs at the Lions. Now, the Lions have wide receiver Jameson Williams missing a little bit of practice. He's got an ankle injury. I do expect that he's going to play through this. There wasn't really any news about this ankle issue for him during the game. He had a big game in Week 1, and I don't believe it's really anything worth worrying about for your fantasy teams right now at this point, unless something changes from the time of me recording to Friday night, which I don't expect. Jameson Williams should be fine to play in this game. Heading over to the Colts at the Packers. Colts wide receiver Josh Downs been dealing with that high ankle sprain. He's going to be a game time decision this week. He is back practicing for the first time in about a month after spraining his ankle in training camp. He's within the timeline they initially gave for his return, so there is a chance at least that he could play in this game. I kind of like to see what this offense looks like with him running some routes underneath the offense. It was mostly big plays in Week 1, but I think he should provide a few easier throws to Anthony Richardson if he's able to come back. As for the Packers, quarterback Jordan Love dealing with the MCL tear from Week 1. I don't expect him to be able to play this week. He should miss a couple weeks with this injury, but the injury did look worse on video than it ended up being. I thought it could have been a high ankle sprain, and he could still be dealing with some ankle soreness just based on the video, but the MCL tear is the thing that we're the most concerned about. They should be able to brace it. As long as he's got some strength and stability, he could be back even by Week 4. Running back Josh Jacobs dealing with a back injury. He is expected to play in this game. He's likely already being limited on that veteran rest, with Josh Jacobs having a lot of action in the first week. Not surprised to see him getting limited reps in practice. It's not really something that I'm worried about heading into week 2. Moving on to the Browns at the Jaguars. Browns tight end David Njoku has a high ankle sprain. He's already being ruled out for this week. He got his foot caught up kind of under him when he was being tackled. Now I do expect him to miss a few weeks with this ankle sprain. Kind of surprising. The team put quite a few guys on IR, but Njoku was not one of them. Coach Stefanski wouldn't commit to the severity of the injury, but typically a high ankle sprain, you're missing a minimum of about 2 games, possibly even 3 or 4, but not putting him on an IR is a good sign that they think he could be back in under 4 games. As for the Jags, not really anybody to talk about, so we're moving on to the 49ers at the Vikings. 49ers running back Christian McCaffrey. This one kind of frustrated me. I'll be honest. It's pretty rare that I am totally wrong on a player being active or not. Now, I'm not going to try to fool you guys. I do miss sometimes on my in-out projections. I try to be as accurate as possible, but usually if I miss, it's on a guy that was kind of a 50-50 call. I almost never completely get blindsided by a guy not playing, but that was the case on Monday night with Christian McCaffrey an hour before game time being ruled out. And so I was pretty surprised by that. I'm sorry if you waited till Monday based on the advice that I gave you last week, but it sounds like the injury was re-aggravated on Friday, and we didn't get any news about that. So I would not be surprised if Vegas is a little upset with the NFL and the 49ers with the fact that they hid that he had a setback last Friday. But with an Achilles tendonitis issue like this, it's really going to be a week-to-week situation on if he's going to be able to come back or not. There is some speculation that he's not going to be back this week, so I'm not projecting him to play this week. And again, moving forward, he's going to be a game-time decision, even if it looks like he's going to play, just based on how finicky these ankle issues can be, especially with the tendonitis. Now, with the Vikings, they've got wide receiver Jordan Addison dealing with an ankle sprain. He's actually sprained both of his ankles in the last month. His left ankle was sprained in the preseason, and now he's missing time with his right ankle. I wouldn't expect him to play. Head over to Underdog, bet with the fantasy headliners. I'm going to slam the over on Justin Jefferson props this week. I really just think Justin Jefferson is set for a ton of volume. I like the target overs, especially. Even if he's not super productive, he's still going to see 10 plus targets. Moving on to the Seahawks at the Patriots. Seahawks running back Kenneth Walker has an abdominal injury. He's going to be a game time decision, but I do think he's trending towards playing. Now, Walker left the game a bit late in week 1. Didn't really hear much about it except that he had some abdominal pain. Coach Mike McDonald said that he has a little muscle thing going on, but neither one of them seem to be very concerned about this issue, but I am, okay? This is the 4th abdominal injury that Kenneth Walker has had since he has started playing in the NFL. He's never really missed a ton of time with these abdominal issues, but he has missed a few games here and there with them. So I would not be surprised if he is a scratch this week, especially knowing that his history is not ideal for this type of injury. I think them downplaying it and his history has some concerns for me. Maybe this is kind of a red herring. They don't want to say too much about it. Could be worse than they're leading on. So just be aware if you have Kenneth Walker, make sure that you have a contingency plan in place if he is not able to play. Now, the Patriots are pretty healthy. So are the Jets, Titans, Giants, and Commanders. So we're not really going to talk about any of them. And we're going to head straight into the midday slate on Sunday. First up, we got Rams at the Cardinals. Now, Puka Nacua for the Rams has a PCL sprain. He actually re-aggravated an injury that he had in the preseason in the team's week 1 overtime loss to the Lions. He's been placed on IR, now is going to miss the next 5 weeks at a minimum. Why 5, you ask? Well, the Rams have a bye week in week 6, so we won't be seeing Puka Nacua again but after they return in week 7 from their bye week. So not ideal if you drafted Puka Nacua in the first couple rounds. Another concern, anytime we've got a player that's dealing with an injury in the preseason, you always just got to put a little bit of an injury caveat on them. I don't like to overpay for guys that are injured heading into the NFL season. And I do kind of wonder, maybe Puka Nacua is a little fragile. He dealt with injuries all year last year. I know he's trying to play through it, but again, kind of concerning to see him being plagued with injuries early in his NFL career. Now, as for the Cardinals, they're pretty healthy. So we're heading over to the Steelers at the Broncos. Steelers quarterback Russell Wilson is dealing with that calf strain. He's back practicing in a limited capacity, was able to return after missing week 1 with that calf injury that has also plagued him since the preseason. He's getting reps, but I don't really see a reason why you would let him play at less than 100% if Justin Fields isn't making mistakes and is moving the offense forward. I also thought it was really weird that Russell Wilson was totally dressed for the game last week when he was ruled out. I just think that's really kind of weird energy. But again, Russell Wilson's just kind of an interesting cat. So I would like to see some touchdowns from the Steelers offense. I think Justin Fields is probably going to get the start again this week as they work Russell Wilson back. As for the Broncos, they are pretty healthy. So we're going to head to the Bengals at the Chiefs, what should be one of the better games of the week. But Bengals wide receiver T. Higgins has a hamstring strain. He missed week 1, out again this week, not expecting him to play. Really concerning for Higgins. He's had a history dating back to college with these hamstring injuries. It's not something that you want to see for a really talented receiver, especially a guy that's trying to play for a new contract. I just think it's odd. I guess it's not odd. It's expected at this point for Higgins to miss some time with hamstring injuries. It's just disappointing if you have him on your fantasy team. The Bengals looked like a total mess without him last week on offense. They could look even worse this week against the Chiefs, who have a lot of reasons to really want to put it to the Bengals, who have talked a lot of smack about being kind of the kryptonite to the Chiefs, one of the only teams that really consistently can beat them. I think the Chiefs are going to want to lay the smackdown on the Bengals this week, and I don't expect T. Higgins to be a part of that offense. Now, for the Chiefs, Marquise Brown coming back from that SC sprain. He has not been practicing so far. I don't expect him to play this week, so we should see more of Xavier Worthy. He, again, going to be a flex option for you if you need some juice from the Chiefs offense. Heading into Sunday night, we got Bears at the Texans. Bears dealing with some wide receiver injuries right off the bat. Keenan Allen has that Achilles/heel injury. I think he's going to try to play through it, but it's really hard to say what exactly is plaguing Keenan Allen, but he was in visible discomfort during the game, kind of limping around. He did lead the team in targets, though, so I guess that's a good sign for him, but you could tell he's not playing at 100%. I think this is Achilles tendonitis as well. Concerning for any wide receiver in their 30s to have Achilles issues. We know that that is typically an injury that could be a precursor to an Achilles rupture, which would obviously end a season. But again, not putting that out there lightly. I'm just telling you guys that typically we see Achilles irritation as a precursor to that injury in a lot of cases. So just concerning for Keenan Allen long-term. He's going to try to play through this. I don't really love throwing him into your fantasy lineup unless you really want some volume. We'll see what happens with Keenan Allen this week. But wide receiver Rome Odunze dealing with an MCL sprain, not ACL. God forbid we say that. MCL sprain for Rome Odunze. Got kind of rolled up while blocking. He's expected to miss a couple weeks, but this is not considered a major injury. So if you have a Rome Odunze on your squad, I wouldn't be dropping him right away. Sounds like he should be back pretty soon. As for the Texans, I got tight end Dalton Schultz dealing with an ankle issue. Didn't practice on Wednesday. We don't have a lot of information as of this recording, so just keep an eye on Dalton Schultz if you're planning on starting him. If he doesn't practice all week, probably a good chance he doesn't play, but I didn't see anything from this injury that indicated that he was hurt or would miss time. So I think this is probably just a rest day and they had to put something down, and so they chose the ankle. Now, Monday Night Football, pretty healthy. Falcons at the Eagles, not really much to talk about. If anything changes with that, though, I will leave it in the pinned comment of this video, along with any other major injury updates that we get on Friday or Saturday. So make sure before you comment that you check that pinned comment down below, because that is where I will be leading all of the injury updates that we get over the weekend that I think you guys need to know about. All right, guys, that's it for this week's injury update video. Hopefully you guys appreciated it. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. It helps us out a ton, and it's free. It's easy to do, so you don't miss any of these weekly videos that we're putting out every single week of the NFL season. And if you guys want to join the exclusive Headliner Nation Discord, make sure you hit the join button down below. Sunday mornings, I get up super early to let you know all the players that you need to be taken out of your lineups due to injury. Sunday nights, I get on and I am live on our Discord group chat so that you guys can go through basically all the injuries of the day. And I'll give you my initial reactions so that you can make good decisions for your waiver wires. And there's just so much good content being talked about in our Discord that you are missing if you're not a part of it. So make sure you hit the join button and become a member of Headliner Nation today. But that's all I got for you guys this week. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time.